Okay, we are live.
Good.
Hello, अस्सलाम वालेकुम. Hope you guys are doing well. आज जो हमारे पास शख्सियत है वो एक बहुत ही खास शख्सियत है. इनके तारुफ में अगर मैं ये कहना चाहूँ कि ये एक PhD स्कॉलर हैं, एक रिनोव्ड क्लाइमेट साइंटिस्ट हैं, एक MS फुलब्राइट स्कॉलर हैं, रिसर्च फेलो हैं कैनेडियन यूनिवर्सिटी में और एक NED यूनिवर्सिटी के प्रोफेसर हैं. तो इनका तारुफ के साथ जस्टिस नहीं होगा, इनके तारुफ के साथ बिल्कुल भी जस्टिस नहीं होगा जब तक मैं ये ना कहूँ कि ये हाईली एक्लेम्ड और हाईली एडमायर्ड प्रोफेशनल हैं, टीचर हैं और एक मोटिवेटर हैं. तो इन अ नटशेल डॉक्टर इमरान इंस्पिरेशन है मिलियंस ऑफ स्टूडेंट्स के लिए. तो जिस तरह आज आप बहुत ज्यादा एक्साइटेड हैं, उससे ज्यादा मैं एक्साइटेड हूँ और नर्वस भी, क्योंकि डॉक्टर इमरान को हमने हमेशा सवाल पूछते ही देखा है. तो आज पहली दफा ऐसा होगा कि डॉक्टर इमरान से हम सवाल पूछेंगे. मैं लाइव पूछूंगी और आप चैट बॉक्स में पूछेंगे. तो डॉक्टर इमरान, आप कैसे हैं?
I'm fine, thank you. First of all, I don't deserve that kind of highly appreciated intro,
नो नो सर.
but thanks for all uh, the things what you talked about me, and let's go to the topic now.
ओके सर, आज का जो हमारा टॉपिक है वो क्लाइमेट चेंज क्या फैक्ट है या फिक्शन है. तो हम अपने पहले क्वेश्चन की तरफ बढ़ते हैं. वो ये है कि सर हम देख रहे हैं कि आजकल बहुत ज्यादा हीट वेव्स आ रही हैं, स्पेशली इन कराची या पाकिस्तान में अगर आप देखें. और कहा ये जाता है कि जो ये हीट वेव्स हैं और इनका जो फ्रीक्वेंट अक्रेंस है वो ये शो करते हैं कि क्लाइमेट चेंज जो अक्रेंस है वो रियल है. क्योंकि अगर मैं आपको 2015 की हीट वेव याद दिलाऊं या 2018 की, जब हमारे पास 51 डिग्री सेल्सियस जैकमाबाद में टेम्परेचर चला गया था. तो सर ये सब क्लाइमेट चेंज की वजह से है या ये कोई और रीजन है इसके पीछे?
Thank you, Malia. There are a few things I would like to talk first. That what is climate? How many people
ओके.
do understand what is climate? What is the literal definition of climate? People, there are very few people I know as my students or my friends who can differentiate between climate and weather. So let me explain this for everyone who is interested in this topic. And second, I am a student of climate change concept. I'm not an expert in it. I learn every day something regarding this, and sometimes I agree, sometimes I disagree. That's the way a human being are. So whether we call what happens to temperature, humidity, rainfall on day-to-day basis, at the most for a week. But when we say climate means we are talking about the pattern of weather for 20 to 30 years. So very distinct definition, which we interchange all the time, knowingly or unknowingly. This is what we do. So when we say climate change, and as you mentioned, couple of heat waves in Karachi, some people talk about 20-ton flood, right? In or some other earthquake in 2005 in Kashmir, right? People relate all this to climate change most of the time, which I strongly disagree. Because as I mentioned earlier, that when we say climate, we are talking about a pattern of weather for 20 to 30 years. But this heat wave, what we are talking, for example, for Karachi, it happened in last whatever years you can go back, not only 2015 and 18, you go further back. There are temperatures related to close to this 45, 46 degrees, 288 times. Karachi has crossed 43 degrees in last 40 years.
Okay.
So if it happens all the time, every time in June or May or somewhere it happens, it means is the typical weather of Karachi. I'll come back on heat wave, why people do still remember that heat wave thing, right? I'll come back on it. So the first thing about when I say climate change, we are talking about similar heat wave which came in 2015 and 18 almost every other year, 5 times in 3 years, 7 times in 10 years, or at least 20 times in 30 years. If we have collected this kind of data in future, starting from 2015, next 30 years, 2045, we have 18 events of this heat wave. Definitely it is going to be climate change. Now, your next question would be, okay, so then what was this? This 2015 and 2018 heat wave. This is what normally we call blip in the data. And the blip data is an extreme event for a day or two or a week and then disappears. And I probably you remember this. This is very interesting that a lot of people on TV talking about it, that there is a firestorm in sun, that's why we have heat wave. It was on very renowned TV channels, right? And some talk about that this is our character, that God is punishing us. And after a week, we were so pious that nobody was punished after, till 2018. Okay, so I mean, people have all mixed, but being a science student, I look at the data set, historical data set, and definitely the real reason was there was low pressure in sea, so all the northern warm wind came down to Karachi with a bit more humidity, definitely as compared to Hyderabad, Sakkar, and Bela, Talfuzlar area. So we got suffocated in that. It happened again only once in 2018. So for me, it is just another blip in the data, but it is not a permanent. When we say climate change, it is change. For example, if you go to New York in December, you would take all warm clothes with you. But in same December, if you go to Florida, you will go with very light clothes. Because why you know this? Because you already know that New York is going to be very cold in winter. But in same month, Florida wouldn't be. Right? So when we see this pattern for Karachi for many years, then definitely it is going to be climate change for Karachi. I give another example.
Why? Ji, sure.
Of Quetta. That's my native city. Right? I have seen a drastic climate change over there with the support of 45 years of data set I'm talking. That the average temperature increased 6 degrees centigrade through the years. So that definitely, and it is staying now, either there or just mixed trends. So a plateau. I see that, okay, in summertime, the city is really, really warm. We used to have no air condition at all, anywhere. Right? So that is climate change in just 500 miles away. No. So that's why I say that climate change is very localized. The climate change in southern Karachi and north of Sorabgod is drastically different. Only 25 kilometers distance. It is that much local. We live in concrete jungle. We have warmer temperature, little bit warmer, but different when you go up north and beyond Sorabgod. So that is a typical answer that yes, climate change is a reality, but don't apply this reality everywhere in every incident you face.
ओके सर, मैं अगर यहाँ पे इसको कंक्लूड करूँ तो ये है कि क्लाइमेट चेंज जो हम कराची के लिए कहते हैं कि हीट वेव्स बहुत ज्यादा फ्रीक्वेंट हो गई और ये क्लाइमेट चेंज की वजह से, तो आपने ये बताया कि हाँ,
in last 45 years it is frequent. Let it be frequent for another 20 years. We'll see. Maybe if I'm alive, I would say yes, this is climate change.
तो सर ये कराची वालों के लिए
blip in the weather data, that's it.
Okay, it's a blip है, ये बिल्कुल एक ब्लिप है और कराची वालों के लिए बहुत अच्छी खबर है कि कराची में एटलीस्ट क्लाइमेट चेंज नहीं हो रहा है और क्लाइमेट चेंज लोकलाइज्ड है, आप इसको ग्लोबलाइज्ड फिनोमेना ना समझे बिल्कुल भी, ऐसा ही है बिल्कुल.
Very right. a lot of people from Europe and US, they look all their data set in a different manner, and they definitely talk about it. That I have worked there for years, I know. They talk about the real data set, and then they decide, okay, what. But we just follow them since they are saying it is climate change, so everything's changing right with the same pace and intensity here. No, that's not right. And what I'm talking here on this chat, I've done a lot of work for 40 to 45 years of data sets, starting from Quetta, Karachi, Islamabad, Peshawar, Dubai, Mumbai, for all these cities. And a few papers on it too, that which explain, in fact, that where we have climate change happening with some pace and where it is not. So you see, these are not more than 500,000 miles away from each other, but they are very different in terms of changing the weather pattern.
Okay, sir, my next question is कि सर हमने देखा कि बहुत ज्यादा फ्लड्स जो हैं वो पाकिस्तान में 2010 के बाद से आए हैं, और कहा जाता है कि पास्ट 65 इयर्स में पाकिस्तान ने 30 मेजर फ्लड्स देखे हैं, और इन सब फ्लड्स को क्लाइमेट चेंज से एट्रीब्यूट भी किया जाता है कि ये ग्लेशियर मेल्ट हो रहा है जिसकी वजह से जो फ्लड्स हैं वो फ्रीक्वेंट हो चुके हैं पाकिस्तान में. तो सर आपका क्या ओपिनियन है इस पे?
Again, I differ with that these floods are because of climate change.
Okay.
And why is that? Because one thing, our population increased drastically, right? And when you hear about flood, they start in urban cities, but they go everywhere eventually to rural areas and all that, right? Now, as you said, that since glaciers are melting, that's why we are getting. So when glaciers melt, where water goes? In fact, we are not talking about glaciers in North Pole and South Pole. We're talking about Himalayas, right? There are 10 rivers which come out of Himalaya. 3 are the big ones: Indus, Ganges, and Brahmaputra. Brahmaputra goes to China and Bangladesh. Ganges go to India eventually, and Indus goes to Pakistan. And the biggest contributor of glacier melt is Indus, 40%. 40% of water is through glacier melt. Okay, so it means if there is glacier melt in Himalayas, Indus would be full all the time with water, especially in summertime. Right? But what happens in summertime? You have flood when you have rain, not with glacier melt. And if you look at last 50, 60 years of data set, pre-Tarbela or post-Tarbela, doesn't matter. You would see the fluctuation in glacial melt is not much. When you see any peak, that peak is because of only the rainfall for that day or for that week. So, and that blip, that hydrograph, the peak of that hydrograph is because of that rain which came in that day, and after a week everything is flooded, right?
Okay.
So I think glacier melt is maybe true for North Pole or South Pole with the extent we talk about or we hear about, but glacier melt to the extent in Himalayas, if it is, I have checked Ganges flow, I have checked Brahmaputra's flow, I have checked Indus flow. I have all the data sets, and it's available on internet. Everybody can go and check. It is so uniform. Yes, there are some blip, 10, 15%, 5% change sometime, but not more than that. So my answer is again, glacier melt for Himalayas, and I have many papers which I have read that some people agree that, okay, glaciers are advancing on one side of the Himalayas and the receding on the other side. So maybe it's sort of mass balance, sometimes more receding, sometimes receding, but it is not disappearing like Ali Hasnan, an Indian scientist, claimed in 1999 and then retreat his statement that, okay, no, I actually modeled it wrong and this and that 2035 there would be no glacier. Nobody read that news, but everybody read that there would be no glacier in 2035. But when he apologized in 2005, nobody heard and nobody explained it to anybody else because that was not a news. News was there will be no glacier available for melting after 2035. So,
okay, sir, अगर ये glacier में
for all three big rivers, especially Indus, I am not sure that glacier melt has drastically increased with time. And if it is, I should have some regressed graph which showing flow every year more and more, which is
okay.
not through WAPDA data set at least.
सर गॉट यू, लेकिन सर अगर ये ग्लेशियर मेल्ट की वजह से नहीं फ्लड्स आ रहे तो सर ये फ्लड्स आ क्यों रहे हैं, मतलब इतना पानी कैसे आ रहा है आपके पास?
Good question. Now let's talk about urban area. Why urban area get flooded right? We designed a city based on the population which would stay there in future, right, or present time. But the way this country has become populous, all those designing failed because on a 200 square yard plot, you have 5-story building and 300 people live instead of 10. Where all that water goes, our all drainage system is packed throughout the year. And those were designed for all stormwater management and sewage water for everything. But since this population, which does not allow us, which choke, and no maintenance on top of that. You know, city of Karachi, no maintenance. And that's another pocket of corruption, but we are not here to discuss all that sidelines of it. But technically, in urban area, flooding is because of overpopulous areas, and they cannot manage with already filled flow of drainage system throughout the year. So we get flooded. In rural area, definitely when we have more rainfall, and for rural area, more rainfall, whenever you have more rain, you would get flood over there. Other than 2010 flood, even 2010 flood, I still agree that it could have been managed. We did not calculate that when we need to open the gates. I'm not challenging anyone's competency here, but I think we could have done better on 2010 flood too. So for me, urban area, I have already given you the reason. Rural area now and then definitely get flood because there is no protection. If there is any, sometimes those are very weak and they breach. So definitely it happens. But it always happens because of excessive rainfall, not of glacier melt. Blame the right person. The main culprit is the more rainfall. And again, just to make the fun of it, we cry all the time that Pakistan is water scarce country. If Pakistan is water scarce country, why we have flood every year twice or 3 times or 4 times and like 30 something you just mentioned in last 20 years, 30 years. Flood means extra water. So what is the solution of flood? Dam it. That's the only solution. Because we need in winter time. We need more water in Rabi season. We have enough for Kharif. We throw rest of it to the sea. But anyway, I think that's we have out of control water in summertime, and that's why rural area get flooded. We have a couple of dams up north, and they cannot manage it. We need more dams.
Okay, सर मैं आपकी बात को अगर जी सर मैं आपकी बात को कंक्लूड करूं कि जो पाकिस्तान में हम फ्रीक्वेंट फ्लड्स देख रहे हैं वो इसलिए वजह से हैं। एक तो ये वजह है कि हमारा जो सिटीज है वो मोर अर्बनाइज्ड हो रहे हैं और वाटर को सीप करने के बजाय वो फ्लैश फ्लड की फॉर्म में फ्लो करता है।
cities, I mean, it's not too late to control this or to manage it, but we really didn't plan accordingly. The cities have, the problem in cities would not go away so soon. We need drastic change in it. Everything is impervious now. Where would that water go? Do you see in Karachi, it's a
Okay,
concrete.
ठीक है.
So I'm not sure that we have a very easy solution, just 2 + 2 4. No. It needs a lot of money and redesigning a lot of stuff.
ओके सर. लाइक हमारे पास शहरों में सारे जो स्ट्रीट है, वो जो सारे एरियाज है, वो सब पेव्ड है और वाटर को स्पेस नहीं मिलता कि वो सीप इन हो या एक फ्लो में जाए. जब वो फ्लो आता है तो वो उसको हम इन द फॉर्म ऑफ फ्लड लेते हैं, राइट?
Exactly. So it's man-made flood.
ओके सर. सर हम अपने इट्स अ मैन मेड फ्लड. ये क्लाइमेट चेंज की वजह से फ्लड्स नहीं आ रहे पाकिस्तान में, राइट?
Yes, all this water used to be infiltrated and it used to recharge groundwater, right? But now it cannot go in there. So all the water has to go somewhere, somebody's home, somebody's shop. So cannot manage it. The drains are
ओके.
already filled.
सर हमारा ओके सर, हम अपने नेक्स्ट क्वेश्चन की तरफ बढ़ते हैं. सर वो ये है कि सी वाटर इंट्रूजन का हम बहुत सुनते हैं. लाइक जो हमारी कोस्टल बेल्ट है कि समंदर का पानी अंदर आता जा रहा है और इतना अंदर आता जा रहा है कि वो 20 to 30 years में हैदराबाद तक पहुंच जाएगा. सर मैं थोड़े से डॉन को कोट करना चाहूंगी. वहां पे सर एक सीनियर ऑफिशियल थे फ्रॉम मिनिस्ट्री ऑफ क्लाइमेट चेंज. उन्होंने डॉन को बताया, न्यूज़पेपर को, कि सी इंट्रूजन कुड इनंडेट लैंड एज फार एज हैदराबाद तक इनंडेट कर देगा लैंड को नेक्स्ट 20 to 30 years में. और सर एक नेशनल इंस्टीट्यूट ऑफ ओशेनोग्राफी है, उनके मुताबिक thousands of acres of fertile land Indus Delta की वो have already been lost due to sea intrusion. और सर एक तीसरा जो मैं यहाँ पे चीज कोट करना चाहूंगी वो है यूनिवर्सिटी ऑफ कराची की एक मैम है. उनके मुताबिक जो फ्रेश वाटर है वो डाउन स्ट्रीम कोटरी जो है वो नहीं आ पा रहा है, जिसकी वजह से समंदर का पानी जो है वो रिवर्स फ्लो हो रहा है और वो जो है फ्रेश वाटर ऊपर से नहीं आ रहा है, तो वहां से समंदर का पानी ऊपर जा रहा है और सारी लैंड को सॉल्टी करता हुआ और खराब करता हुआ जा रहा है. तो सर ये इस बात में कितनी सच्चाई है?
You threw a barrage of questions. Let me
सर
start
आप
with
करीब आ जाए स्क्रीन के थोड़ा.
key theories. Let's start with which one you want to talk first.
सर आप ये बताएं कि सी इंट्रूजन के को जो मेंशन कर रहे हैं डिफरेंट न्यूज़पेपर्स, इसमें कितनी रियलिटी है?
Seawater intrusion happens everywhere in the world where there is a sea and there is a land. Water intrudes. Okay, that's the first response to your question. Now the point is, what happens to that water? First of all, why seawater intrusion happens? There are a couple of things. The freshwater level to the adjacent land at the coast, if that level is lower than the seawater, so it would intrude, first thing. And seawater density is already high. You know that, being a science student. So it intrudes. Now, but this intrusion is sinusoidal. Means it is oscillation. It goes in there and then stays and then goes back. Haven't you seen that sea does it all the time, even in a day and on seasonal basis? It comes closer to the coast and then goes back. And when it goes back, it actually produces a lot of sediment that they are eroded with it. And then brings it back. This is how this world facing for millions, billions of years. right? The pace what you are talking, the other gentleman said that in 20, 30 years it would be in Hyderabad. It should be based on some pace of destruction for the last 30 years or 50 years. That what area sea has destructed in a certain time period, right? I have no idea how it was calculated, but I disagree with it that it would go in next 20 to 30 years to Hyderabad, which is way far from the coast, and it would do it. It may intrude a bit more and then go back, because most of the outfall drains and all that, they get all this water, and eventually that water drains back to sea. Now, the question which I want to point out, adjacent to the coastal belt, there is a huge fertile area in that Keti Bandar and up further up north, where people have grown rice, sugarcane, and banana for 40 years. They got water from Indus through the irrigation system, plus the groundwater they put into their fields to get the crops. Depleted groundwater and more water from irrigation, they got salinity issue for years. So the most of the land which are destructed over there, that is because of the salinity in the area.
Okay.
And that salinity occurred because of irrigation, because of agriculture system, which is happening there for the last 30, 40 years, maybe more now. So the destruction is not solely because of seawater intrusion, and that area what I'm talking is way far from seawater. So I think if there is a little bit of intrusion of seawater to a kilometer or two, and there is another study. Let me, because it's a forum and a lot of people, because whatever question you ask, I disagree. So let me give a very sound report from PCRWR, which I have gone through, but that was classified because they calculated from 0 kilometers at the coast all the way to 70 kilometers. 0, 1, 5, 10, 20, 30, 40, up to 70 kilometers, gasometers, water quality and water quantity both for summer and winter for 2 years. If you see the graphs, they are top of each other. Shoot the battery. Okay. So I have seen the data. I did not see more than 1, 2, or 3% difference in water quality and water quantity in winter and summer. And I'm very firm on this statement. You can call PCRWR and ask them, did they do any study on it and why it was classified? And wherever I go, even in official seminars on water, I quote this report, very authenticated federal government report. It is classified. I don't know why.
तो सर ये फिर क्यों हर जगह न्यूज़पेपर में या हम मीडिया पे सुनते हैं कि सी वाटर इंट्रूजन हो रही है? इवन सर जो हमारे मिनिस्ट्री हैं क्लाइमेट चेंज के, वो भी ये कहती हैं कि लाइक मिनिस्ट्री से जो रिलेटेड लोग हैं वो भी यही कहते हैं कि जो सी वाटर इंट्रूजन.
I would like to see some data sets. I have given you the data sets. From my point of view, I have given you a reasonable, a very authenticated report. And it's not done by me, by somebody else.
अच्छा सर, ये कहा जाता है कि जी सर, वो कहते हैं कि सर वो कहते हैं कि इंडस से और कोटरी, इंडस का पानी कोटरी और कोटरी से नीचे पानी नहीं आ रहा है हमारे पास, और जिसकी वजह से सी को कोई बैरियर नहीं मिल रहा, ऊपर से पानी नहीं आ रहा है, तो सी के पास एक खुला स्पेस है कि वो इंट्रूड करना शुरू हो जाए लैंड के अंदर.
I don't know how many people know that when this river Indus goes to downstream Kotri, normally we see a river bed and we have two banks, one left side, right side, and water flowing. when it goes further closer to sea, it has various branches, what we call streams or tributaries, whatever you name it. And they are 16.
Okay.
If stream number 1 is at this point, and 16 is here, the, the cross section, the area, the distance from stream 1 to stream 16 is 150 kilometers.
Okay.
And these are very small branches of that river which go into sea. Plus, what is enough water downstream Kotri? It's a very hot and burning question. Always
Hmm.
till date, it has been from provincial water record. The discussion was that it is 3 MAF, MS million acre feet. It's a unit, volume unit. 3 million acre feet, 5 million acre feet, and eventually they said, okay, we'll try to put 10 million acre feet every year until we do a study and find how much water would be needed for the livelihood for downstream Kotri and
Hmm.
for any effect of seawater intrusion. That study has not been conducted till date. One thing. Second, if you look the data set what Baghdad provides, I don't have capacity and jurisdiction to go there and collect all the data set. I have downloaded all the data set from Baghdad, from SIDA. According to their downstream poultry flow, only 2001 and 2000 that they threw only 4 MF water downstream poultry. Other than that, every year it is more than 20, according to
Okay.
their record. So the amount of water which is going to downstream poultry, I still disagree that it is less than water parchment accord 1991. Other than few years, and there, if you remember that 1999 to 2002, it was drought all over the world, including
Hmm.
Pakistan. So we did not have rain. So only those years there was some issue, but other than that, according to WAPDA data, you can challenge WAPDA data. That is none of my business. But being a science student, definitely I have to depend data on from some sources. So I think it is all uh, available in books that how much water went through downstream Kotri, and Kotri data is calculated by SIDA, right here.
Sir, there is a request.
So,
Please come close to the camera. Sir, your voice is not clearly
okay.
audible. Yeah, this is best. सर कहा जाता है कि मैंग्रोव्स की जो एक्सटिंक्शन है सर वो रिस्पॉन्सिबल है सी वाटर इंट्रूजन के
Existence or absence?
एब्सेंस
Absence. Okay. Good question. Mangroves are soft grass, right? Right. And what grass does normally? It holds soil together, right? It's this is what it does.
हम्म
You know how long the coast is from Gwadar to Thar? 1100 kilometers, as far as I remember. I may be wrong a bit, but around that. The mangroves are only 4 spots in all these 1100 kilometers. And if you calculate the area where mangroves are, it is less than 1%.
ओके
So some people may challenge it. No, it is more than 1, maybe more than 1. Say it is 5%. I don't mind that.
हम्म
What about 95% area where there is no mangrove? So the seawater intrusion should be very, very real, and it should go all the way to Quetta from Gwadar. I doubt about it. I'm not saying that mangroves don't help in protecting erosion. Yes, they do. But seawater intrusion, even if some seawater goes in and again it's sinusoidal, it goes back as well.
तो
So
सर पाकिस्तान में क्यों सी वाटर इंट्रूजन का
you
मतलब इतना शोर है?
trying to say, if it is going one way only, it will keep going because sea has a lot of water. So
हम्म.
it should go all the way. Why should it stop? It stops because this is how the seas are. I'm not expert in sea water movement and all that, but I can at least, this is my observation, that I go in different time of the year to sea, and sea behaves differently every time.
ओके सर, मैं आपकी बात को
Sometimes
कंक्लूड करूंगी कि सर आपका कहने का मतलब ये है कि जो सी वाटर इंट्रूजन है ये साइनोसाइडल है, सी अंदर आता है एंड देन वो वापसी बाहर चला जाता है. अगर ये इंट्रूजन कंटिन्यूअस होती, जिस तरह मिनिस्ट्री ऑफ क्लाइमेट चेंज के एक रिप्रेजेंटेटिव ने कहा कि 20 to 30 इयर्स में हैदराबाद तक समंदर चला जाएगा, तो सर वही आपकी बात जो आपने कहा, ये तो क्वेटा तक चला जाना चाहिए अगर ये वन वे ट्रैफिक है.
and it's fine. I mean, if they have data set, I would take my words back. 20, show me what they have done in last 20, 30 years. What is how much they have covered? That the water has covered something, fine, I would agree. But if it is not covered, then I am a modeler. I do modeling, you know that. So I can predict this no matter what. So my point is, if some observed data available for last 20, 30 years, that this is what happened, and they have just extrapolated that, okay, this might happen. Definitely, I need to look into and read that paper. That if it is true, then definitely I would take my words back. But otherwise, I humbly disagree that it's going to happen in
ओके
next 20 years.
सर, प्लीज कम क्लोज टू द स्क्रीन. सर वो आपकी आवाज में इशू आ जाता है वरना. बेस्ट. सर आज की डिस्कशन का लास्ट क्वेश्चन है कि सर फॉरेस्ट फायर्स को भी, फॉरेस्ट फायर्स जो वाइल्ड फॉरेस्ट फायर्स होती हैं सर, उनको भी लार्जली एट्रीब्यूट किया जाता है क्लाइमेट चेंज से. सर अभी हमने ऑस्ट्रेलियन फायर देखी थी और सर उस पे जितनी भी डॉक्यूमेंट्रीज बनी थी उसको रिलेट किया गया था कि क्लाइमेट चेंज से, कि सी क्लाइमेट चेंज किस तरह जंगलों में आग लगा रहा है. तो सर आपका इस पे क्या टेक है?
First of all, it's an unfortunate thing which happens. We need forests. Everyone knows this. There are only 3 ways that forest can get fire. Only 3 ways. One is lightning. Second is, if there is a mountain and there are rocks and they start falling and they strike with each other and friction. Because of that, the fire started with the rubbing 2 stones, right?
Ignition.
Yes, this is what we do all the time. Now, third one, which is the real reason most of the time around the world, is human error, human negligence. We go out for they're there for camping, and sometimes we are careless, and we go for fishing. There is something burning, something happens. Sometimes people, especially where drinking is quite fine. I'm not talking only Pakistan. Definitely, if you are partying and all that, and you are careless, and you leave that fire just like that, so definitely it will catch. It would just because of wind and anything. And I have read this in many places that the most possible reason around the world for forest fire is human error.
Okay.
For jungle, if there is no rain and if there is no mountain, that's the only reason left. Look at US data. Extensively, it is only human error. And most of the time you hear it is in US. And now Australia is getting there as well, right? So for me, It is not climate. Nothing is. Lightning is not climate change. It is happening since the birth of this planet. The rocks, if they are somewhere, and it happens, may be possible, but chances are 1 in million, just like lightning. But the third thing, what I think, and I believe strongly on it because of the data set what I have looked upon. So I think it's human error. Don't even bother talking about climate change on it.
अच्छा सर, मैंने जब रिसर्च करी थी तो मैंने पढ़ा कि हीट वेव्स जो हैं वो बहुत ज्यादा फ्रीक्वेंट हो चुकी हैं और अपकमिंग ईयर्स में ये और ज्यादा फ्रीक्वेंट हो जाएंगी क्लाइमेट चेंज की वजह से.
Okay. When you watch TV every night, the weatherman, what we call that person, weatherman.
जी.
And that weatherman predicts only for 5 days. Next 5 days, right? Have you heard that that person is called climate man? Cannot be climate man, but climate needs 20, 30 years of prediction.
Okay.
So for me, based on 2 heat waves in Karachi for 15 and 18, you are saying by 2050 there would be 30 more. I think if I say no and someone says yes, our both of the guesses are as good as anybody's guess. I cannot say this because I have no knowledge or no data to prove it. So
यानी कि सर
I'm not sure
आप ये
like if it happens every year after in the beginning of the lecture, didn't I say that I would agree if by 2045 there are 18 heat wave events? I would say yes. No, it's climate change. It's part of the package. When you live in Karachi, you will face this music every year. I do understand. But it is not the way heat wave, because this low pressure thing, this created the difference. Temperature, I told you 280 times we have crossed this early 40s in Karachi.
ओके. तो सर अगर हम आज की डिबेट को सम अप करें तो हमने ये देखा कि जो क्लाइमेट चेंज है, जो जिसको हम क्लाइमेट चेंज कह रहे हैं, वो बेसिकली क्लाइमेटिक वेरिएबिलिटी है और ये रीजन टू रीजन वेरी करती है. फॉर इंस्टेंस क्लाइमेट चेंज क्वेटा में हम कह सकते हैं हो रहा है, तो हम कहेंगे कि कराची में जो हीट वेव्स हैं वो क्लाइमेटिक चेंज नहीं है, वो एक वेरिएबिलिटी है. अगर एक ब्लिप आ जाए, एक कोई डेटा इंक्रीज हो जाता है, जैसे हम कहते हैं एक शार्प लाइन आ जाए आपके डेटा में, तो उसको हम क्लाइमेट चेंज नहीं कहेंगे, वो एक ब्लिप है और ये यूजुअल होता है.
Let me add, very good point. You summarized it well. This blip in the data, if this become consistent, so it would look like a pattern. When it becomes pattern, then it is climate change.
ओके सर, ये
the key word is pattern.
ओके. तो सर आज हमारे जितने भी व्यूअर्स ने ये एक बात जरूर सीखी होगी कि अगर ब्लिप अगर एक आ रहा है या 2 आ रहे हैं, ये पैटर्न नहीं है. जब ये पैटर्न बन जाएगा, आप नेक्स्ट 20 to 30 इयर्स में इसको एक पैटर्न देखेंगे, तो आप इसको कहिएगा क्लाइमेट चेंज. 10 इयर्स के डेटा पे या 5 इयर्स के डेटा पे आप इसको क्लाइमेट चेंज नहीं कह सकते. सर हमें कितने साल का डेटा चाहिए होता है किसी भी क्लाइमेट वेरिएबिलिटी को क्लाइमेट चेंज कहने के लिए?
एटलीस्ट 30 years.
एटलीस्ट 30 इयर्स. तो जो लोग सर आजकल के बच्चे वो जब इसको क्लाइमेट चेंज कह रहे होते हैं वो 30 साल के भी नहीं.
सॉरी
सर मैं कह रही हूँ आजकल के बच्चे क्लाइमेट चेंज पे बात कर रहे हैं जबकि उनकी खुद भी एज 30 तक नहीं अभी पहुंची है और उन्होंने इतना डेटा ऑब्जर्व किया ही नहीं है, बट दे हैव जंप्ड टू द कंक्लूजन.
उसका कोई वो नहीं है. इफ यू हैव डाटा सेट यू कैन प्रेडिक्ट इफ एंड यू नो हाउ टू डू दिस. सो
ओके सर, हम क्वेश्चंस की तरफ जाएंगे. सर बरीरा मिर्जा ने कहा थैंक यू सर फॉर ज्वाइनिंग अस. शेख सदन ने, खतीजा अतीक ने कहा प्लीज सर टेल अबाउट ओजोन लेयर. सर हम बिल्कुल बात करेंगे. खतीजा, हम ओजोन लेयर पे सर को एक दूसरे सेशन में बुलाएंगे. और बिलावल सब्जवारी ने कहा है कि सी वाटर इंट्रूड्स थ्रू रिवर डेल्टा कंटामिनेटिंग द रिवर एंड देन इंट्रूड्स ग्राउंड वाटर थ्रू द फिनोमेना phenomenon of surface groundwater interaction, although sinusoidal, but can continue to contaminate the aquifer.
Yes, that's true. It's sinusoidal, and definitely once the salt concentration increased, that water definitely is low quality water. That's right.
Okay. Sir, thank you so much for your time. Arif, ये screen से questions हटा दो. ओके सर, थैंक यू सो मच फॉर योर टाइम. और सर मैं इतना ही कहूंगी कि सर आपको कैसा लगा आज का ये सेशन, क्योंकि सर आप पहली दफा इस तरह सोशल मीडिया पे लाइव आए हैं, और सर आपके स्टूडेंट्स भी बहुत ज्यादा एक्साइटेड थे कि डॉक्टर इमरान को देखना इतने सालों बाद. तो सर आपका एक्सपीरियंस कैसा रहा?
Thank you. If I have not disappointed them, then I'm happy too. If I disappointed, I'm sorry for that.
सर आप अगर हम आपको दोबारा इनवाइट करें तो आप आएंगे इस तरह से किसी भी सेशन में?
Pleasure, no issues.
चलें सर, ठीक है. तो हम यहाँ पे अपने सेशन को कंक्लूड करते हैं. मैं यहाँ पे इतना ही कहना चाहूंगी कि अ गुड टीचर कैन इंस्पायर होप, इग्नाइट द इमेजिनेशन एंड इंस्टिल अ लव ऑफ लर्निंग. तो डॉक्टर इमरान की जहां तक बात है तो ये तीनों चीजें डॉक्टर इमरान ने की हैं. तो सर थैंक यू सो मच फॉर योर टाइम. इंशाल्लाह हम नेक्स्ट मीटिंग में फिर आपसे मुलाकात होती है. और थैंक यू सो मच व्यूअर्स फॉर ज्वाइनिंग अस. और हम एक नए इंटरेस्टिंग टॉपिक के साथ फिर दोबारा हाजिर होंगे. खुदा हाफिज.
Okay. Allah Hafiz.